We got a good show for you today, folks. Gonna talk about the Goonery of the week. We might recap the Bears for just a little minute here, and then we're gonna do our mid-season power rankings episode. Where do the teams stand? I'm your host, Uncle Adam. With me is the innkeeper and Brandon Cauley. This is the Goonery.
Yes, sir.
All right, boys. Gooner of the week, kind of quieter than weeks in the past, but there's always some wild shit happening. Ben, who do you got for your Gooner of the week?
So, for me personally, this past week in the NFL, I just think the end of the Chargers and Raiders game, and more so just the Los Angeles Chargers in general. I mean, it was quite apparent watching that game. No one wanted to win it. Look, the Raiders are trying to hand that game to the Chargers at the end there. And, I mean, that was the most Chargers loss I think I've ever seen. Coming back down the field, Justin Herbert throwing that ball up in the end zone, and then they coming loose. Everyone knew it wasn't going to be a touchdown, but they still had to review it. And that brings the Chargers to 2-6. Every one of their losses this year, one score, and they've blown a double-digit lead 4 times this year. And, you know, in my opinion, just watching the Chargers this year, it feels no different than any other Chargers team I've watched growing up in the past. I mean, growing up, it was always Phil Rivers either blowing a lead late in the fourth quarter in the 3 o'clock slate for me, or Phil Rivers coming back furiously to just end up losing late in the fourth quarter. And it's just more of the same for the Chargers now. And I just hope, unfortunately, I mean, I like Anthony Lynn as a head coach, but I think that Chargers are going to have to move on from him at some point.
It really sucks because I was just talking about this, that, you know, the Chargers are just that team that no matter who the head coach is, who the quarterback is, no matter who the running back is, wide receiver, defensive line, cornerbacks, none of that. They're a cursed team. Let's just call it what it is. And when you have a coach that like Marty Schottenheimer back in the mid-2000s, and I said they had who? I can't remember their head coaches off the top of my head, but it's always been the same thing. And that's going to be unfortunate for Anthony Lynn because really think about it, it's like it's always been the hard luck losses. Really, like there's a couple games you say, all right, maybe, you know, that was like his fault, but like a lot of these losses are just really, really bad luck. They should be like at least hovering around 500, but they're not. But I don't want to harp on Anthony Lynn too much, but I just want to give praise to how great Justin Herbert's been playing. Like this kid, he's amazing.
Yeah, Ben, are you not a Herbert believer?
Oh no, I'm the opposite. I think that if you redrafted right now, I think that there's a case for Herbert to go 1 overall in the draft from this past year. I wasn't a big Herbert believer coming out of college, probably just because Oregon quarterbacks historically are just absolutely horrible in the NFL. And he's proving everyone wrong. Everyone said Herbert was a year or two away at least from being a competent NFL starter. And he's playing at an elite level this year since he's come in and taken over for Tyrod Taylor. So the Chargers have to be over the moon with how he's been playing.
And that's
been without Austin Eckler. That's been without their running back. I mean, he's doing it with a really minimalistic running game right now.
Is Eckler coming back this year?
That's a good question.
Yeah, they say he's supposed to. I don't know. It's a hamstring injury. So in the meantime, he'll just sit in the IR spot in my fantasy league. So
yeah. We'll see. All right. You mentioned Phillip Rivers, so that's going to segue into my Gooner of the week. Hilarious. It was a fumble, though, right? Not an interception against the Ravens. And, you know, he had a chance to maybe make a tackle in a close game, but instead he kind of just fell down and made a flailing attempt to make a tackle, but it was a non-factor, and it looked really goofy, and it was probably the funniest thing I saw all weekend.
Honestly looked like when your dog gets on its back and just kind of starts like wobbling around,
yeah, it gets all
its back, finding that sweet spot.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, Phil Rivers is just completely washed at this point. It's sad. It's sad to watch.
And I don't know what I think I mentioned this like early in the season. I don't know how the Colts just looked at every quarterback that was on the open market. They had Jacoby Brissett already on the roster, and they said, you know what? I think the guy's going to get us over the hump is a 38 or 39-year-old Phillip Rivers. I don't get it. I never will get it, and they're paying for it right now.
Yeah, they get what they deserve. Brandon, who's your Goonery of the week?
So I'm stepping into y'all realm.
I
For
know we're
the
getting
Goonery of the
out of
week.
football for years.
Yeah. So we were very, very critical. Well, not very critical, but we were critical of Tony La Russa being hired as the White Sox new manager. It's mostly due to his age. But now it comes out that this guy had a DUI in February, got pulled over and tried to privilege his way in saying, hey man, I'm a baseball Hall of Famer. I'm pretty legit. And what makes this even more egregious is the fact that the day before he got hired, he got charged for the DUI. So never mind the whole thing of him being old school and probably won't relate to his players. The same thing a player would do, they would get suspended for it. So what would be the consequences for La Russa getting a DUI? Because you put this man in a position where he's going to be a leader of men, young men at that, because this is a very, very young White Sox team. What message does that send if he faces no consequences for being irresponsible behind the wheel, being a late 70s-year-old man? That's just a horrible job by the front office, and you feel bad for Rick Hahn because you know damn well he ain't want Tony La Russa as the manager. And my condolences to you guys, because now this has just got to a horrible start. And like, how do you even explain this to any White Sox fan out there who questioned the move in the first place, but now just like, all right, like what is this guy good for if he can't control himself, control his liquor, and get behind the wheel? So sorry guys.
And here's what I have to say about it. It was really fun being a White Sox fan this summer for the first time in God knows how many years. And everyone was always up in arms whether or not Ricky Renneria was the guy to lead the Sox moving forward. But I tell you what, right now, I bet the White Sox, the players on the team, I bet they'd rather be playing for Ricky Renneria right now than Tony La Russa. I mean, there's a lot of drama on White Sox Twitter this past week. It started out with there was this kid who put out a clip saying that Tony La Russa deserves more respect because the White Sox fans gave the players all the doubt in the world. Because Tim Anderson, he linked it back to Tim Anderson saying he had a slow start to his career. If White Sox fans treated Tim Anderson the way they're treating Tony La Russa right now, that Tim Anderson would be a nobody because we would have given up on him too early. Well, guess what? I mean, that take just blew up right in your face. Nobody wants Tony La Russa managing this team right now. Rick Hahn wants out of the city, I would assume. I don't blame him. And it's just so Jerry Reinsdorf makes it so hard to be a White Sox fan. They have all the talent in the world right now. Marcus Stroman was on Twitter today being very open about the fact that you could not pay him enough money to play for the Chicago White Sox right now. That's one of the premier free agents this offseason, and it's been very well known that he has been interested in the White Sox. And now this La Russa nonsense, he doesn't even want to be there. And you know what? Going back to that I'm a Hall of Famer, brother quote from La Russa from the body cam footage, I guarantee that's the same exact thing he said to Jerry Reinsdorf in his interview for the head coaching candidacy. And guess what? That's all he needed to say.
Yep. And going back to whoever tweeted that nonsense you just lined out for us, there's certain people who just really just don't deserve to talk sports on Twitter. I would, if I knew who tweeted that, I would report his account at this moment. Like how can you equate one another to just let's move on.
People were, it was infuriating to watch. It was a kid who's studying journalism at the University of Chicago, so he's just gonna end up making a lot of money somewhere since he's at that school, and it's just infuriating after hearing a take like that.
Man, give me his degree. I'll do better than that nonsense.
Yeah, good times. All right, moving on. Well, do we want to pick a clear-cut winner? I think.
I think it's
Tony
quite
La Russa,
apparent this
right?
week. Yeah.
I think that's
yeah.
unanimous consensus there. All right. Maybe we should talk about the Bears real quick. I don't know. It's depressing to talk about them, man. Their offense just sucks, and it's so fucking depressing to watch those games. It's so hard. Um,
Yeah, I was driving during the game this week, so I was listening to it on the radio, and it's sad watching it on TV, but hearing Jeff Joniak just be so upset calling the game over the radio makes it 10 times worse.
do you have any memorable Jeff Joniak moments in the booth
What
there?
what what was memorable from this game for the Bears for him to even make a call on? It was bad this week. Just really bad this week. I
No other
mean,
way to put it.
no, and it's going to be more of the same with Matt Nagy still calling the plays. I feel like we've been talking about this for 5 weeks now. Nothing's going to change. David Montgomery is most likely not going to play with a concussion, so we're going to get most likely Cordero Patterson as RB1 this week on Monday Night Football against the Vikings.
You know, oh, sorry.
Well, I mean, it is Kirk Cousins in prime time. Feels like it's a very
I don't even
winnable Bears game.
I don't even think that matters with this Bears team right now. I really don't. And Kirk Cousins has been throwing the ball 10 times a game. Dalvin Cook will just run all over us.
I will give credit in this regard. I expect Derrick Henry to have like 200 rushing yards on us. I'll give the Bears defense credit. And truthfully, I don't want to hear any Bears fan that wants to put the fault on the defense for this game. Because if you don't, you didn't watch the game in the first place. But I mean, what is there to say about this offense? What is there to say about the offensive line? Now, granted, they were banged up, but there's just certain things where you just can't get beat on certain plays. You saw the same thing from Rashad Coward and Jermaine Ifedi. It was the same thing over and over. And, you know, Nick Foles, I was rooting for him so much to be the starter, but it is so apparent how immobile he is. And at that point, you have to know your personnel to know that you have a banged up offensive line and also inexperienced. That works against the quarterback you have under center. You know he's immobile. You know he cannot move. You have to play to his strengths, and they have refused to do that every single Sunday and Monday, it seems like. And you just think that nothing's going to change, and you see the frustration mount with Nagy every week. Well, brother, take a look in the mirror. So it's on you. If you look at every Bears fan right now, they'll say it's on you. Damn the record for a minute. Like, it's the struggles for the offense for the past 2 seasons has fallen on your hands. So what should that tell you?
Yeah, at this point, are the Bears ever going to find like a quarterback to be their guy for any extended period of time?
You see, this is my thing with regarding the quarterback situation. I don't want them to waste a first round pick on a quarterback in this coming draft. You need to go out. You need to get you need to pick an offensive lineman in the first round. I don't care, in my opinion. I think that's the only solution you could really make right now. And I think you go out, you grab a quarterback in maybe second, third, fourth round this year. Let him sit behind Foles for a year because he has 1 year left on the contract. You're going to have to eat that regardless. And I just think you need to get the offensive line shirt up before you put another quarterback in there who you think can automatically be a world beater regardless of who is on the offensive line in front of him. I mean, everything in the NFL is going to come down to your front five. And if you draft a quarterback in the first round and throw him behind that offensive line right now, what do you think is going to change?
That's a really good point. I think we're on opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of where to draft a quarterback, because I feel like there's certain, obviously the can't miss guys are Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence. You're not going to pass them up. But say if Trey Lance drops to the Bears, and granted, he's kind of a raw talent right now because he's only played 1 game this season. That's the only game he's going to play. And last season was his first season starting. So obviously, there's some concerns with him. But I feel like if a Trey Lance drops to you, or possibly even a Mac Jones, because I think Mac Jones might fall. I think he's going to be in the first round. I don't think he's going to fall out, although it is heavily contingent on how he finishes the rest of the season. But the offensive line does need to be addressed, but I feel like it would be more better to be in free agency than the draft. But I get where you're coming from. It's just a matter of what's the quarterback talent going to be like in second or third round.
No, I agree. A guy who I've really fallen in love with in college football this year has been Zach Wilson out of BYU.
Oh man, if he drops,
I mean, I think he's played his way into being a late first round, early second round pick this year. I think there's about 5 guys who can go in that range this year. It's a strong quarterback class. So if there's a potential to trade back into the first round and get a guy like Zach Wilson, I say you go for it.
mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of depth in this draft. You have guys like Brock Purdy. You got Kyle Trask out of Florida, Sam Ellinger from Texas. There's a lot of depth here in this draft at
Shane
quarterback.
Buechele as well.
True. I mean,
that would be a guy I look at in the second round because he was not going to go first round, but he's been putting up really good numbers this year.
It's a very deep quarterback draft. So I don't think the Bears necessarily need to wait. I'm not going to say waste because if you're drafting a quarterback in the first round, you're not wasting a pick. You're investing for the future. That's a bad way to put it. But I think that they'd set themselves up for long-term success in a better way if they went offensive line first. That's just my opinion, though.
You got to win in the trenches. Yeah, I don't know if Ryan Pace will make the move. He seems to struggle addressing that side of the football. But hopefully they can patch up some of that offensive line. And I don't know, maybe they can get a veteran QB that's currently in the league right now that just maybe needs a new home. They can experiment with that, but it's going to be rough without
Sam Darnold.
One thing I don't doubt for Ryan Pace because I think this year he's going to have a little bit of urgency because I think what people get confused about Ryan Pace is that he does have bad signings like Jimmy Graham in terms of the money. But when Trubisky was in his second year, he made it a priority to get him weapons, and he got that. And that was one of the biggest reasons why they made a big run. They should have made a bigger run in the playoffs, but they got to the playoffs because of those weapons. They helped a great deal. So I won't count him out, and I think he's very, very aware that his offensive line is just not it at this point.
Oh, this poor defense, man, just playing their hearts out and looking real solid on that side of the football.
Yep.
All they need is just somebody that can, hopefully keep them off the field and put up some points to win those games. We'll see. Right now, it is very difficult to watch that offense struggle week in and week out. It's hard to watch. Should we move on to the power rankings segment of the show?
Let's go.
Let's do it. Just quick format. We're going to rank, power rank, whatever the top 10 teams in football right now, NFL. I think we'll just start with the number one and see if we have, unanimous or some debates as we move on these lists.
All right.
I'll start it off. I have the Chiefs as my number one team in the power rankings right now.
Now this is gonna be a little weird because I know the Steelers struggle with the Cowboys, but in terms of a well-rounded team, they had to win that game and they did win that game. So I'm gonna maintain them being number one right now. But I have the Chiefs number two. They're not far behind. They're really, really not far behind. And right now,
I hear what you're saying with the Steelers. 0 losses, the only undefeated team in football. It should be open and shut case for them being number one, but I know they have an elite defense and pretty solid offense, good coaching, all that. I don't know. It'd be hard for me to think that they would beat the Chiefs in a playoff match.
I get it. I totally get it.
No, that's where I'm at too, Adam. I have the Chiefs. Chiefs are my number one with my Steelers checking in at number two. I just think that the Chiefs' biggest strength is far stronger than the Steelers' greatest strength. I mean, that Chiefs offense, we've seen it again a couple weeks ago when they ran for 200-something yards, and this past week where they threw for 400-something yards. I mean, that offense will outscore anyone on any given day. And I just think that they're a better coach team, but that's not to say Mike Tomlin is a bad coach. Mike Tomlin, in my opinion, probably the most underappreciated head coach in NFL history. 14
Yep.
seasons in the league as a head coach. He has yet to have a losing season, and he guaranteed himself that he won't have one this year. That Steelers team is scary, but it all hinges upon the health of Ben Roethlisberger, in my opinion. We saw what happened without him last year, and now he's banged up again on the COVID list, being exposed. So who knows what's going to happen with them?
Yeah, if this was like college rankings, I'm sure the Steelers would be number one by
absolutely.
default, but it's not. So, all right, I think we have a consensus 2-1 Chiefs, number one Steelers, number two, which now we move on to number three. I'm gonna throw the Ravens out there because, I mean, they're a damn good football team. I know they have 2 losses on the year, but it's literally to the Chiefs and the Steelers.
The Ravens, I can't put that high right now, and it's solely because like their offense is not clicking like you would think they should, and that's gonna hold them back. The defense, we know what the defense is. They got a bunch of Rough Riders on there, but offensively, they leave a lot to be desired. So for right now, I can't put them that high. I don't know if I should spoil it or not, but I have them like trending towards the bottom of the top 10.
Ooh, interesting. Who's your number three?
My number 3 is the Green Bay Packers.
Ooh.
Right now, you cannot
Right there
deny
with
how great that offense is. Aaron Rodgers, listen, he had the hiccup against Minnesota. It is what it is. It happens. It's football. But from a week-to-week basis, you just know what you're going to get from him. The defense is going to fall in line because that's just been the MO of the Packers for the past couple of years. Like, have Aaron Rodgers score and the defense just eventually come around. And you're seeing it on full display this year. And right now, like, they do like the best team in the NFC. Is that concrete? No. But right now, offensively, who can compete with them right now? I don't see anybody.
Yeah, no, I also have the Packers checking at number 3. And the most underrated part about that team is that they have the highest graded offensive line by Pro Football Focus. I mean, David Bakhtiari is healthy again, and Aaron Rodgers to Devontae Adams is as scary as any 1-2 duo in the entire NFL.
Must be nice.
I mean, I'll give it to you. You know, the Packers are fucking solid on offense. They're really good. But losing to the Vikings and the Bucks, I feel like that kind of hurts the overall, I guess, ranking of that team for me. I don't know. I just feel like those are some teams you got to be beaten if you want to be, you know, top 3 in the power ranking conversation for me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's fair enough. I mean, that Vikings team they're a lot better than their record shows they are.
Mm-hmm.
They are. I mean, they have talent on that roster. They're about as frisky of a team as you're going to get in the NFL. But the Buccaneers are just such a weird case for me where I feel like it's almost there's too many mouths to feed on that offense, and that's why they've been so inefficient.
Yep.
All right. Let's move on to number 4. Anyone want to share their number?
Got the
4?
Bills.
Bills?
I
I got the Bills.
Yeah.
I
think that, you know, Josh Allen, he had his doubters coming into the league, and he has all but silenced them. I know they stumbled for a few weeks there where they were just playing to the level of their competition, but they handled the Seahawks last weekend. They really did.
It was a huge win against the Seahawks. And, I mean, their only losses are to the Chiefs and the Titans, who are pretty solid teams.
Yeah, and I know people, you know, yeah, anyone can throw for 300 yards against the Seahawks. Or the statistically worst passing defense of all time right now. But Josh Allen threw for over 400 yards. That's nothing to slouch over. And that defense is solid too. They have a very good defense. Sean McDermott is a great head coach, and that Bills team is scary.
I have them checking in at number 6, but at number 5, I have the New Orleans Saints. And for one reason and one reason only. Now, I know they struggled.
Wait, you're number 4
week.
or you're number 5?
Oh, my number 5 is Buffalo. Number 4 is New Orleans.
Oh, okay.
But they got their weapons back. That was the reason why the Saints were struggling for that short amount of time. They didn't have their weapons. Mike Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders coming back is going to be the biggest difference for this team. Everything's going to come together for them. If they can stay healthy, they're going to be at least a second seed, but I would not rule out a first seed as well.
They look so much better with Michael Thomas back.
Mm-hmm.
They have such an
100%.
explosive offense, even with old Drew Brees. They got guys to back him up too if he needs a little breather too. They got so many explosive weapons on offense, and their defense is not too shabby.
Mm-hmm.
I've got the same.
I got them number 6 on mine, but I think they probably have the most room to gain out of any of these people I have listed here, just as the season goes on. Who they lose to? The Raiders and the Packers?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. Raiders.
Yeah, I've got the Saints checking in at 5, so I'm right there with you guys.
Okay. All right. I think Saints can we'll round them off to the top 5. If we're going to number 6, then what do you guys got there? Seahawks?
I've got the Ravens there. We've already mentioned the Ravens, but that's where I've got the Ravens is sitting at number 6.
I got the Seahawks at 6.
Seahawks are my number 7. So we're all right about the same here.
Pretty much.
I just think with the Seahawks, they're statistically the worst passing.
That defense really hurts them. Like offense, there's nothing like it.
They're giving up 365 passing yards a game, right about. And if you want to win any football games, Russell Wilson's going to have to play as flawless gets, and you can't expect that out of him every week. It's just it's impossible to expect that from your quarterback every single week. And the Seahawks are that team who you just kind of always expect to have a good defense, but they haven't had a good defense in 5-6 years.
Yep.
Yeah, it's been it feels like a long time ago since the Legion of Boom. I want to see that defense kind of pick it up just a little bit second half of the season. They got some playmakers on there, Bobby Wagner, KJ Wright, and Jamal Adams, and there's some other guys too that people like, Shaq Griffin, all that good stuff. But man, are they missing Clowney this year? Some sort of pass rush or just anything to make some plays on that side of the ball.
Yep.
So moving on to number 7, I guess sounds like the Ravens kind of fall into this spot.
Yep, that's why I have them.
Yeah.
I need to see more from the offense.
Yeah, I know the offense has been struggling, but my God, with Lamar, and he's just such a beast. Even though he's kind of having a down year. They've only lost 2 games to the top 2 teams in our power rankings. I feel like, besides the Saints, the Ravens have. I feel like they could work their way into the top 3.
I agree.
Where I ultimately have them by the end of this year. A Ravens-Seahawks game, man, that'd be fun to watch. I don't know if they play each other this year, but
yeah, that was my Super Bowl prediction. I hope I get to see that.
Yeah. Moving on to number 8, this is where I'm sure we'll might start getting a little all over the place here. I want to just throw the Bucs in there just because they have a top 3 defense and they have on paper a top 3 offense. I know it hasn't clicked from time to time. That the 2 games against the Saints, who are ranked in our top 5 here, and a loss to our Bears, who were doing well at that time. I still feel like the Bucs can kind of find their own this season and kind of solidify themselves as a top 10 team, or it could go terribly wrong. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I have them slotted in at the same spot, so we're all pretty much riding the same wave here.
All right, good to know. Then getting down to it, we got number 9. Does anyone want to throw out a?
I've got the Dolphins.
I've got the Dolphins.
What?
So do I. Watch out. This team is exciting.
They are fun to fucking watch play football. Tua, I mean, I doubted Tua, but he looked great this weekend. And in my opinion, season ends today. Brian Flores wins head coach of the year.
100%.
Yeah, he's
I
got that
mean,
defense playing well, and Tua looks. That was such a fun game to watch him versus Kyler
Tyler,
Murray.
yeah. I mean, just two of the league's young bright stars.
Yeah,
And
that was a fun game.
Dolphin fans have to be so incredibly excited for the future. It must be nice. It must be nice.
Yep.
I feel like they can make their way into the top 10. I would be hesitant to put them there at this time. I feel like they're one of my two honorable mentions. Them and the Raiders are my two honorable mentions for kind of just like right on the cuffs there. But yeah, I mean, they are playing pretty solid football.
Yeah, and this is just the meatball in me too. Watching them play football in their uniforms, they just seem like such a cooler
that
team
uniform.
that I automatically think they're better than they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Dolphins is such a dope mascot too.
Yeah.
We'll see. Rooting for Tua, man. We've come a long way already since our, harping on Fitzmagic for getting the bench treatment.
Right.
But are you guys, you agree with that decision now?
Yeah. I mean,
It's hard
right
not
now,
to, right? I mean, that seems like
Oh
the right
yeah,
move.
exactly.
can't disagree with that at this moment.
You can't disagree with
They're
that.
getting, they're getting paid hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to make these types of football decisions. And we're sitting here on Zoom talking to each other about them. So, I mean, they're in the right spot. They know what they're doing, supposedly. And I'm sure Ryan Fitzpatrick is A-okay with it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right. What? I'm sorry, Brandon. Where did you have the Finns?
Oh, same place.
Okay. Well, then I can't argue with you guys. We'll have to slot them into the top 10. And then rounding off the list at number 10, who do you guys think?
I got Mike Vrabel's boys, Tennessee Titans, at number 10.
Jesus Christ. We have the same list.
Yeah, I had the Titans at 9 actually, and the Cardinals at 10.
I jousted with the Cardinals and Titans, but I had to go with the record. Titans have been impressive most of this season, so I have to give them the nod. But the Cardinals are if this was like 12, I'll put them at 11.
Yeah, no, Cardinals were just outside my top 10. They were number 11 for me as well. And the only reason I didn't include them is the fact that I still think that Cliff Kingsbury is not that great of a head coach. He's a great offensive strategist, but I just don't think he has what it takes, in all honesty, to lead a football team to the promised land.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the Dolphins beat the Cardinals. The Lions also beat the Cardinals, and was it the Packers beat the Cardinals? I can't read my handwriting here. 3 losses. Yeah, I would agree then to kind of keep them out of the top 10. I guess the Finns would be the only 3-loss team in the top 10 there. I don't know. The Titans too. I think they're a solid football team. I love AJ Brown. I love Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill, Clowney on defense.
Corey Davis coming to life on offense.
Yeah,
He was drafted. Showing out for the MAC. I mean, really. I mean, everyone doubted him being drafted. He's a top 5 pick coming out of Western Michigan, and
yeah, he's like that.
I mean,
Tron build kind of guy too.
Yeah, I mean, he's built like a tight end. He's like 240 pounds. It looks like on the field.
We'll see. I feel like the Titans are probably one of those teams that might slip out of the top 10, but I have them right there in the hunt. They're a very solid football team.
They'll end up winning their division. Like, I think that they'll end up winning their division handily.
The Bengals lost.
Bengals are that team. They're sneaky. They're sneaky good.
I've been calling the Dolphins a frisky team all year, and since I've now graduated them to being a top 10 team in football, the Bengals are the friskiest team in the entire league. I mean, that offense can put up points with Joe Burrow slinging the football all over the place. They have great receiving corps. I mean, Joe Mixon's finally getting healthy. They do have some dogs on defense too. And, I mean, give that team a year or two, and they'll be competing in the AFC North.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, no matter who's on the schedule, you can say, all right, this game's not going to be easy because, listen, Joe Burrow can play, man. This isn't one of those guys from college that was just good in college. He can play, and he has a lot of weapons around him too. So
He's really coming alive right now.
if I'm a
And
contender team,
weapons,
I do not want to play the Bengals.
yeah. They're a team slowly moving up the list from the bottom. A little stat correction here. The Bucks also have 3 losses. I didn't mean to say the.
One happens to be against the Bears, believe it or
Yeah,
not.
yeah. Bears, woo, scary Bears. And I would give an honorable mention just to mention the Raiders again. I mean, beating the Chiefs is a huge win. I think they've got some other big wins as well, and they've got some kind of head scratching losses. So it's kind of hard to know what
Derek
you're going to get from
playing
that
good.
team and really believe that they're going to make any noise in the playoffs, given all the talent in front of, well, all the talented teams, that are ahead of them. Well, what a year for football. It's been quite the
Football
season
was
so far. A lot
very
of
unique.
young studs, right? Like quarterbacks playing well, rookie quarterbacks, a lot of rookie explosive wide receivers, kind of sophomore explosive wide receivers, sophomore running backs. It's I feel like the new era of football is finally upon us.
Mm-hmm.
And meanwhile, we have Brady and Drew Brees, switching who has the most touchdown passes thrown all time each week too. So good, cool time for football.